a series of talking about value, your true value, your first value, how do you add value. I am also on that journey, and in today's video I just wanted us to have a conversation of the books I've read so far. Yes, it's a conversation, so make sure you engage. Comment down in the description box below what books you've read, which one has been your favorite book based off my list, if you've read any, and let's just start a conversation. So I'm basically going to share with you what I learned from my first half of the year, each book that I read, because we challenged ourselves to read a certain number of books by the end of this year. So my challenge is 23 books, and I should be on book number 14 if I'm not mistaken. So yes, let's just get into the video. So I'm just going to pull out my Goodreads app because it's easy for me to track which book I started with and on that. So the first book that I have read so far is Eat That Frog by Brian Tracy. And for me, my greatest takeaway from this book were two, actually. One of which, you have to eat the ugliest frog, the task that is seemingly looking so hard for you to achieve in a day, because that's the one that's going to give you the greatest fulfillment, and it's really going to ensure that you are ahead. Then another thing I love is the to-do list, really, how you arrange your to-do lists with the ABC method, making sure you have a star on the most important task. So this, I gave it, let me even check my Goodreads. So I think I gave it a 5. Yes, I gave it a 5. I started reading this book first because I didn't want to have a year full of procrastination. I didn't want to have a year full of not fulfilling what I put my mind to. And trust me, this year has really been a fulfilling year. I've achieved so much than I even thought. So yes, this was book number 1. Eat That Frog by Brian Tracy. The second one is Managing Oneself by Peter F. Drucker. It's really a good book. It's a Harvard classic. He gives reviews on how you can manage yourself, knowing your strength, how you perform, and all that. And I did really love it, especially reading it at the beginning of the first month. Actually, this I read at the beginning of January. I really put myself into knowing what I'm good at and what I'm not good at. It's a great approach of managing oneself. How can you manage people when you can't manage your own self? So yes, definitely a good read. The next book that I read, you know what? This is my book. These two, I read The Greatest Salesman Part 1 and The Greatest Salesman Part 2 in one weekend. I really love these two books, O.G. Mandino. It's really a story of scrolls for success, like scrolls, I mean like steps on how you can be successful. So the first part 1 has 10 scrolls, part 2 also has 10 scrolls that guide you into success, into being the wealthiest man. He was a camel boy and then he became a wealthy man. Oh my God, I remember when reading the last one, I was just like, gosh, this is so good. I really love it. And I started memorizing my scrolls. Persuade till you succeed, you know. Let me just run through them. It's been a while. Yes, so what I do actually is I write my reviews, like my greatest takeaway, when I am reading in my notes, so that each time I want to apply a principle that got me, I easily just go back and check it out. So let's take The Greatest Salesman in the World. Yes. So it talks about creating good habits. It talks about self-love, loving others. You are unique. You are a miracle. You need to master your emotions. You need to laugh, multiply your value, which is really what pushed me into So what had happened, like I love these books because I noticed once I wrote down the scrolls, I now started asking myself, where do I fall? Like, okay, I've created good habits. How do I multiply my value? And that's where the concept now really just started. I watch videos every morning. I'm listening to motivational talks and all that. But I really loved this. And this so far has been my favorite books. I don't mind reading this twice every year. Following the order of Goodreads, I also read Waiting and Dating. It's not even here. It is. So this is the book by Miles Monroe, which is just the concept of preparation for dating. If you don't know, I've been single for like 5 years. That's intentional, and now I'm sort of ready. So I had to put myself in shoes that am I really ready to date? So hence I read Waiting and Dating. Then I read Who Moved My Cheese? Who Moved My Cheese? Really, I read this book every single year. Like I read every single year. Who Moved My Cheese and Out of the Maze as well. So I don't know if it's Out of the Maze, Out of Maz, Mazda, Maze. Okay, whatever. So yeah, I read both 1 and 2. 1 is really how to deal with change when change comes, and 2 is the Out of the Maze, is basically how you're going to navigate whilst you are in the process of changing, something like that. Yeah, but I love to read this book, especially if I'm going through a season of change, so that I look at things differently. Maybe there are things that I'm not appreciative of, or maybe there are things that I just haven't looked at it from a different perspective. So that's why I read this book every single year or in a season of change. Previously, I used to have like a list of what books I want to read when, but now I really read books based off how life is treating me or how I'm treating life. Yeah, that makes sense, but you get it. Then I read Think Big and Grow Rich, also on the list. Big Grow Rich. There we go. Yes, Think Big Grow Rich. And to be honest, I felt so overwhelmed when I read this book. I don't know if it's just me, but I really felt so overwhelmed. Firstly, with the font. Maybe it's the type of book that I bought. I felt the font was too tiny. But ideally, I loved the concept of the book, but I just felt it's a book that I wouldn't read once off and I have to read again. But it's really how it really teaches you how your thought process can help you become wealthy, by Napoleon Hill. It's really a good book, and I've seen several people like, oh, this book changed my life. I agree, but for me, I just felt, I'll tell you why. I just felt the book I read after was really speaking more than this, but the concepts were the same. I'll talk about that book later. But I did like it though. I liked it. It talks about how you think and grow rich, your imagination process, specialize, your faith, your desire. It's a really good book as well. Then I read Emotional Intelligence, which is a book to study, not just read. It's good if you really want to go in depth and build your knowledge. Emotional intelligence book really just gives you a concept of it's more than IQ, it's more than intelligent. It's really about how you relate with people. It's really in a place where can you respect your emotions at the same time understand people's emotions. So it's a really good book if you want to master that. And my approach wouldn't be to read it, but to study it, maybe a chapter a day, so that you get the concept of it, because it's got a lot of technical terms. I tell you, it's got a lot of technical terms. I'm just like, oh my gosh, I feel overwhelmed already. So I started reading it to study, not to read to understand, but to study and understand. That became easy, because then if you find a term that you don't understand, you can check in the dictionary and really just take your time. I also loved how he explained how I also loved his explanation on how we respond with regards to emotions, why you feel like running when you are afraid, why the blood flows to your legs, why you feel shaky in your hands and you just want to pick up something and maybe hit someone. And I think it's a good book, and it's a book every one of us must read, because then you would master your emotions and how you respond in a particular emotional trigger. So, and my final series by Rhoda, probably know, maybe you have heard of The Secret. If you haven't, please go buy The Secret. It's going to really help you into understanding the law of desire, understanding the law of attraction, and your role into making your dreams come true. So I learned out The Secret, then I read the master class, which is a detailed version of the book that I'm talking about. And this is the book that I felt really explained Napoleon Hill's book concept in a simpler way, because I felt his was really too technical. But everything that he talks about, The Secret does talk about it. So for me, I preferred The Secret. Napoleon's book was good, but I preferred The Secret because it was just straight out easy to understand. Yeah, so I did The Secret, and after I finished The Secret, I read The Power, which is really an enlightenment on the power that you have, which is love, and what love can do for you. It can heal, it can attract all good things. That's the concept of this. And then The Hero is by 12 successful business people, business from different walks of life. Business, one is a student from Harvard, Liz, basically them sharing a glimpse of what their life evolution was like, from starting from nothing up to where they are at, be it in their businesses, their gaming businesses. Anastasia Beverly Hills, that is the founder of the Beverly Hills brand. So all of them share a background of how they started for them to get where they are at. And I loved The Hero, because I finished The Hero last night actually. Only took me a week. And one thing I've noticed is my speed of reading is really improving. Like I read maybe 30, 40, 50 pages in the morning, and maybe in the afternoon I don't have, maybe I finish my task quite early, I would read another 30, 20 pages, and before you realize, maybe in 3-4 days I can finish a book. So I am so excited because I get to also learn, knowing that I have to come on here and share my experience. It puts me in a position where I have to add value, knowledge to my journey as well. So this makes it really easy for me. And I would really want to know what it is that you are doing to add value to yourself. So for me, I'm really on a journey to learn as much, ask many questions if I'm not clear, find help if I can, and really just pour out everything that I am learning, because we learn by teaching, as they say. And once you as a student is ready to learn, a teacher will be found. So I am so excited to my journey. I have done 15 so far. I have 2 books that I'm reading. One is The Magic actually, and the other one is Praying Circles as well. So my book genres do range based off how I'm experiencing life. If I feel, okay, now I need to pay attention to this, okay, now I need to find questions to these answers. And even as I read, I'm big on discernment. It's not everything that I agree with, no matter who wrote the book. I have to find grounds on which we should agree. They shouldn't compromise with what I believe in. For example, The Secret, for me, when they use the term the universe, I would all ask myself, like, okay, then who is the universe? What made the universe? And I was so glad when I found a scripture in the Bible, because I'm Christian, that says God created the universe, and I felt so relieved and comfortable. And now I understood, okay, the universe is not God, but it's something He created. So it's always important as you read, you really read with discernment to feel it shouldn't contradict with your faith. It shouldn't maybe contradict with your morals. It's also important, but books definitely can enhance your knowledge, enhance your skills, and just help you get on the right track. So yes, these are my mid-year reads, and I hope this inspires you to read more. So comment in the section below what books you're reading, and if you've read any of these books, which definitely was your best.